Part 45. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 441. Su Yang, he, after all, I really want to thank you. If you hadn't taught me the cultivation techniques, I wouldn't have achieved what I have today. Next time I see you, I'll leave the corpse intact as a way to repay you. Lin Yuan's eyes showed a hint of coldness, and then with a thought, a small flag appeared in his palm. This flag is not big, about the size of a palm, but the power it exudes is terrifying. This is the sacred object of Mount Lu, the 100 Poison Flag. As soon as the 100 Poison banner appeared, the surrounding shrubs instantly turned black and yellow, and even the air was exuding a strange poisonous gas. The 100 Poison banner reacts to spiritual energy, which shows that most of our Lushan ancestors were also cultivators. Lin Yuan held the 100 Poison banner and guessed, over the years, Qi practitioners have disappeared, and the ancient martial arts system has been practiced up and down Mount Lu, so no one can activate the 100 Poison banner and obtain the huge spiritual energy inside. This time I made a mistake and developed spiritual energy, thus opening the seal of the 100 Poison banner and reaching the sky in one step. The corner of Lin Yuan's mouth rose and he said, I have absorbed a very small part of the spiritual energy inside, which is half step to building the foundation. If I absorb it all, I'm afraid I will build the foundation or even form a pill. However, I am already very strong now. If I want to build a foundation, I can do it in an instant. After saying that, Lin Yuan raised his head, looked in the direction of Wudan, and murmured, this year's 100 sex martial arts competition is different. According to the speculation of the old guy from Tianji sect hundreds of years ago, after the 100 sex martial arts competition, the world will be great change. Therefore, the number one winner in this 100 sect martial arts competition should be the one chosen by heaven. The major ancient martial arts sects have agreed to follow the way of heaven and let the number one winner become the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance and take charge of the ancient martial arts world in order to deal with the next innovation. The corners of Lin Yuan's lips raised and he said, now, I have returned to youth. Even my bone age has changed. I am completely a teenager, and I meet the conditions for competition. In addition, at this time, I have obtained the cultivation technique. Haha, isn't this me the chosen one? Lin Yuan's eyes flashed and he said, in this year's 100 sex martial arts competition, the first place must belong to me, and only I can lead the ancient martial arts world, ha ha ha. With this thought in his mind, Lin Yuan put away the Beidou banner, and his figure instantly disappeared on the spot. The other side. The place of Zen. Shi Hehan, the master of Mount Tai, had already left early and did not choose to go with Shi Jushan. At this moment, Shi Jushan put on a white sportswear and walked down Mount Tai alone. And, don't worry. I will definitely take good care of cousin Su Yang. I am the number one in the martial arts competition among hundreds of sections. When the time comes, I will ask Grandpa to let you go and reunite you with my uncle's family. With his goal in mind, Shi Jushan drove straight to Wudan Mountain with a majestic appearance. Wanan, Jufeng Mountain. Yu, have you packed up? It's time for us to leave for Wudan in the palace, Qian Shangxiu urged with a smile. Yeah, Mom, here I come. After she finished speaking, Su Yu walked out of the room carrying a backpack bigger than her. Yu, we are only going there for a few days. Why are you bringing so many things? Qian Shangxiu said with a smile. He, these are all fruits I picked in Jufeng Mountain. There are green peaches, bayberries, and sweet dates. Su Yu showed a sweet smile, I will bring it to Dad. Dad will be very happy. These things are very common, even in Wudan Mountain. There is no need to carry them, they are too heavy. No. She had heard about what Su Yang had done in the past few days, and naturally knew that Su Yang could kill Shenzong now. Su Yu's face suddenly changed, and she said nervously, Mom, you How did you know? Qian Shangxiu continued, although this year's situation is special, the ranking will not be too bad. Just temper yourself. Hearing Qian Shangxiu's agreement, Su Yuyu hugged Qian Shangxiu and smiled happily, but then she was confused. Mom, the last time I saw Dad, he couldn't even defeat Tianzong. If Su Yang is in trouble in Wudang Mountain, Grandpa's presence can relieve Su Yang's pressure. With such strength, judging from previous years, he should be able to enter the top 20. Before leaving, Qian Shangxiu did not forget to inform his grandfather of the Millennium Killing and asked him to go to Wudang Mountain. You are no match for him. Ah! In the past few days, many sects have already set out to send out young geniuses to compete to become the chosen ones. Qian Shangxiu looked up and looked outside, her beautiful face full of expectation. Okay, you can take it with you if you want. The 100 Sects martial arts competition will begin tomorrow. Qian Shangxiu set off with Su Yuyu, accompanied by many masters from Jufeng Mountain and the young talents of Jufeng Mountain. Some time ago, Su Xing secretly ran away from home and took away the treasure that had been killed for 1,000 years. Thanks, Mom. That treasure is the most powerful trump card of Millennium Killing. Because of this treasure, Millennium Killing was able to suppress the other 8 peaks. What can you hide from me about Jufeng Mountain? Now that the treasure was lost, 1,000 Years Kill could no longer sit still, so he left Jufeng Mountain to look for Su Xing, but unfortunately there was no news about Su Xing. Su Yuyu smiled and said eagerly, I haven't seen my father for a long time. I wonder if he misses me. In response, Qian Shangxiu shook his head and smiled. Qian Shangxiu continued, now that you have used all your strength, you can compete with the late Tianzong. It can be regarded as a blessing in disguise. There is an important reason why Qian Shangxiu notified his grandfather about the Millennium Killing, and that is to provide help to Su Yang. The major sects have long agreed that the number 1 among the 100 sects in the martial arts competition will be the chosen one and will become the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance. After what happened last time, you used Tianzong's power for the first time, and huge amounts of true energy flowed in your body. After so many days, your body has adapted and you can use Tianzong's power at will, and your realm has also improved significantly. Promote. Next. Su Yang, will you be the chosen one? Su Yuyu said stubbornly, I picked these by myself. They are different from the ones I bought with money. Dad hasn't eaten the fruits I picked yet. I carry them on my own without your help. If nothing else, you can see her tonight. Qian Shangxiu suddenly showed a smile and said, didn't you sign up to participate in the 100 Sects martial arts competition? Maybe you and your father might become rivals. Qian Shangxiu smiled helplessly, and then urged, let's go, the car is ready, it's time to set off. The entire ancient martial arts world was in motion, showing a world of great strife. If I really meet my father in the game, should I defeat him? Su Yuyu was caught in a dilemma. Qian Shangxiu smiled softly and said, but, Yuyu, since you signed up, if you want to participate, then go ahead. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 442. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Su Yang and his party drove for 5 hours and were getting closer and closer to Wudang Mountain. Original. Su Yang planned to let Wang Fugui drive all the way to Wudang, but Su Xing kept shouting that he was hungry and insisted on eating. There was no other way, so the group had no choice but to go to the nearby service area and simply eat some food. After eating and drinking, Su Yang and his party were ready to leave and continue on their way. But at this moment, Su Yang suddenly realized that there were 2 people not far away, staring at him. These 2 people, a man and a woman, were all elderly, at least past their octogenarian years. The old man was wearing a white training uniform, and the old woman was wearing a dark grandmother's uniform. The 2 of them concealed their auras very well. They looked like ordinary old people. They didn't leak any true energy, but they couldn't hide it from Su Yang's eyes. Su Yang could tell at a glance that these two people were not simple. They should all be masters in the early stage of Shenzone, similar to Gu Hongyu, Duan Muhai and others. At this moment, the two men stared at Su Yang, with vague murderous intent in their eyes. Young Master Su, there is a situation. Wang Fuegui was at the 8th level of Qi training, so he naturally felt the killing intent of the two old men and whispered. Su Yang nodded and smiled, don't worry, he is just a minor character and does not pose a threat to us. Master, do you want to kill them? Uri next to him said through his soul. Don't worry, they are here. First find out why they want to kill me, Su Yang responded via voice transmission. After a while, the two old men walked up to Su Yang. Among them, the old man asked in a bad tone, young man, are you Su Yang? Exactly, senior, Su Yang asked. The old man didn't bother to answer and continued to ask, Master of the Medicine King Palace, Su Yang. Well, it's me, Su Yang said with a smile. Haha, that's right. The old man narrowed his eyes slightly and sneered, Su Yang, we two are the other two cave masters of Sandong Bridge. My name is Su Haifeng and she is He Jinzi. I heard that your Medicine King Palace killed our friend Gu Hongyu. It turns out they are two cave masters. Su Yang smiled softly and said, what's going on? Do you two want to avenge Gu Hongyu? I didn't plan to take revenge originally. After all, without her, we can allocate more resources after conquering the famous mountain. Su Haifeng smiled playfully and said, however, after all, we and Gu Hongyu have known each other for many years. Now that we have met you, and there are no masters around you, it would be unreasonable not to take revenge. After the words fell, Su Haifeng no longer hid, his true energy surged around his body, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. The same was true for He Jinzi next to him, looking at Su Yang with a sinking face, his true energy already gathering in his palms. Seeing this, Wang Fuegui subconsciously stood with Su Yang and did not retreat, intending to fight side by side with Su Yang. As for Su Zeng, along the way, this little guy kept chirping. Su Yang couldn't stand it anymore, so after eating, he put him into the storage ring. Facing the two early Shenzong disciples, Su Yang showed no fear and smiled softly, two seniors, didn't you check my strength before you decided to take action against me? Haha, Su Yang, stop pretending. He Jinzi sneered and said, I admit that at such a young age, you can travel across Kyoto and reach the peak of the Grandmaster. Your talent is unique. Haha, Su Yang, don't put gold on your face, don't think that I don't know that Zhang Honggaiwu, the master of Kyoto, is not dead, and has entered the realm of Shenzone. This made Wang Fuegui shudder, and finally couldn't bear it anymore, so he hid behind Su Yang in fear. Snored. Young Master Su, it's too scary. I'm scared to death. Every one of them is changing. I'll leave it to you to deal with it, Wang Fuegui said nervously, his face turned pale with fear. Ari, don't take action yet, someone else is about to show up at this moment, Su Yang sent a message secretly. However, He Jinzi said, don't kill the men either, leave them to me. Yes. Wang Fuegui was still squatting behind Su Yang, but when he heard this, he immediately became unhappy and stood up to defend his dignity. Old guy, who are you talking about? If you have the guts, let's compare. I will. Don't believe it, I am a young man who is still young, but I can't compare to an old guy like you. Wang Fuegui was so mean. With just a few words, Su Haifeng's defense was broken. He didn't even kill Su Yang. He raised his palm to kill Wang Fuegui. As he said that, He Jinzi's eyes fell on Wang Fuegui and he couldn't help but lick his lips. Wang Fuegui looked at Su Yang and Ali next to him, and suddenly he was no longer afraid. He hugged his arms and said provocatively, what, Old guy, you don't dare to compete. He Jinzi, he is so thin and small that he must not be able to be used in a heavy way. That thing is probably not big. What do you want him to do? Su Haifeng asked in confusion. Haha, I heard that the body shrinks when people get old. Old guy, if I guess correctly, you have shrunk seriously. Are you still as thick as chopsticks now? When Su Yang heard this, he smiled. Ari responded respectfully, standing aside unmoved. Oh, that's how it is. These news should have been spread by Zhang Hongyu in order to hide his own strength and avoid attracting attention. Su Haifeng was furious and immediately took action again. Roughly the same. Depend on. Su Yang nodded and smiled softly, otherwise, who do you think killed Gu Hongyu? Wang Fugui was so frightened that he ran away, avoiding Su Haifeng's fatal blow. This girl doll is simply heavenly. When I saw her, my heart, which had been calm for many years, boiled up again. A sly smile flashed in Su Haifeng's eyes. Hee hee. Let's see how long you can hide. Stop talking nonsense with him and kill him with all your strength. This is a high-speed service area with a large flow of people, so as not to cause panic. But at this moment, a young man in white sportswear suddenly appeared, stood in front of Wang Fugui, and stopped him. I'm here, Taishan Chizhushan, Senior, please stop. At this time, Su Haifeng said in a deep voice, as for the man and woman next to him, haha, kill the man and keep the woman for me. Seeing that Wang Fugui was disrespectful to him, Su Haifeng's face suddenly dropped like water and he stared at Wang Fugui coldly. Seeing this, He Jinzi didn't stop him. She wanted Wang Fugui, she just said it casually. He Jinzi obviously knew some information, and said with a contemptuous smile, in addition, there was a strange Shenzong master who helped the Yaoang Palace, so he defeated Gu Hongyu and Du Mingyuan, the head of the Du family in Shenzhen. What does it have to do with you, Su Yang? Relation. But you are too young after all. No matter how strong you are, can you still be comparable to Shenzong? He Jinzi sneered disdainfully. Bitch, I want you to die. Since Wang Fugui wanted to die, there was no need for her to have trouble with her allies because of a little man. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 443. Shijushin is here. He was always in the service area, looking at Su Yang and his group intentionally or unintentionally. With Su Yang's eyesight, he had already discovered Shijushin. Only Su Yang didn't know Shijushin's identity, and he didn't show any hostility, so Su Yang simply chose to ignore it. But just now, when Su Haifeng and He Jinzi were about to kill Su Yang, Shijushin's face changed slightly, and he actually looked worried. Su Yang was very curious, who was this person and why was he worried about him? Next, Su Yang discovered that Shijushin's whole body was surging with energy, and the eyes he looked at Su Haifeng and He Jinzi were full of hostility. He knew that Shijushin would come forward to help him. So, Su Yang did not let Ali take action, but stood aside and watched what happened. Sure enough, Shijushin took action and announced himself as soon as he came up. Shijushin. Taishans. Su Yang frowned slightly, a little curious in his heart. His relationship with Taishan was not good. Why did this person help him? At this time, when Su Haifeng heard Shijushin's identity, he stopped immediately, with a flash of vigilance in his eyes, and asked, Shijushin. Your surname is Shi, who are you, the master of Mount Tai? Shi Hehan is my grandfather. Facing the Shenzong masters, Shi Hehan was neither humble nor arrogant. He smiled softly and said, Senior, please show your respect and give this junior a face and let Su Yang and his party go. You are the grandson of the mountain owner. When Su Haifeng heard this, he was shocked and murmured, I have long heard that the second son of Shi Huan, the master of Mount Tai, has a son named Shi Jushan. He is the most outstanding genius in Mount Tai in the past century. When I saw him today, he certainly lived up to his reputation. He is already half a step into the divine sect when he is around 30 years old. His achievements in the future will be limitless. Su Haifeng knew that if Shi Jushan came forward, he would definitely not be able to kill Su Yang today, so he changed his tone to flattering, intending to win favor with this, so as not to offend the place of Zen. Senior's words are wrong. With Aunt Shi Yuyanzuyu in front of me, how dare I claim to be the most talented person in a century? When Shi Yuyan was mentioned, Shi Jushan's eyes were full of awe. Really? Su Haifeng had naturally heard of Shi Yuyan's reputation, nodded and said, Shi Yuyan's reputation as a genius has shocked everyone. If nothing unexpected happens, he will definitely reach the top. Unfortunately, Shi Yuyan has a dissolute nature. More than 20 years ago, he and the remnants of the Su family by running away, Taishan lost all his face and became the laughing stock of the ancient martial arts world. Speaking of this, Su Haifeng shook his head with a smile, his eyes full of disdain. When Su Yang, who was not far away, heard this, his face instantly darkened, and his whole body exuded overwhelming murderous intent. On sight. Not only was he angry, Shi Jushan, who was wearing a white sportswear, was also furious, with unusually cold eyes. But this touch of coldness disappeared in an instant, and was replaced by a smile. At this time, Su Haifeng looked at Shi Jushan and said calmly, Master Shi, you must have come forward to protect Su Yang at this time just for Shi Yuyan. Good. Shi Jushan smiled softly and said, Shi Yuyan is my aunt. After careful calculation, I am Su Yang's cousin. Now that he is in danger, how can I stand by and watch? Oh. Su Haifeng smiled playfully and said, I heard that Shi Yuyan left everything behind and ran away with the remnants of the Su family in Kunlun. But later, the remnants of the Su family abandoned her. After that, Shi Yuyan had no face to return to Mount Tai, so she married in Jiangbei and found a man with the same surname as Su. She married her and gave birth to a son named Su Yang. Su Haifeng then smiled and said, I dare to ask Mr. Shi, is Su Yang the child of Shi Yuyan and the remnants of the Su family, or is he the child of his current husband? Could it be that when she was abandoned back then, she was pregnant with a remnant of the Su family? In order to hide her from others, she just found a random man to marry, right? I don't know this. Shi Jushan shook his head, and then said with a smile, no matter what, Su Yang will always be my cousin. Please show me your respect, senior. Haha, of course I have to give Mr. Shi his face, Su Haifeng said with a smile, but how did I hear that the master of Mount Tai didn't like Su Yang, and even planned to destroy the Su family when he took Shi Yuyan away 5 years ago? My grandfather is my grandfather, and I am me. Please don't confuse me, senior. Shi Jushan always had a smile on his face, and continued, if senior agrees to let my cousin go, I am willing to give him a lot of treasure in exchange. During this trip, my grandfather gave me a lot of good things. Haha, Mr. Shi really values love and justice. When they heard that there was a valuable treasure, both Su Haifeng and He Jinzi's eyes lit up. Among them, Su Haifeng said happily, in this case, the two of us will no longer care about Su Yang, and the past grudges will be wiped out. Thank you both. Shi Jushan clasped his fists gratefully, and then said with a smile, seniors, please move to the east wall. There are fewer people there. After all, it is a valuable treasure given to me by my grandfather. I don't want him to know that I gave it to my cousin Su Yang in order to help him for you guys. His old man has always hated his cousin's family. If he finds out, he will definitely punish me. Shi Jushan smiled and said, at the same time, don't think about it, easy for the two seniors. My grandfather will definitely recover the treasure. I will secretly give the treasure to you too, and that will be fine. It will be good for us all. Okay, Mr. Shi is upright, values family ties, and even reluctantly gives up his love. I admire him. Su Haifeng nodded, and then walked eastward with He Jinzi. There is a parking space for large trucks. There are few people and there is no surveillance. Cousin, wait for me, I'll be right back. Shi Jushin looked at Su Yang and smiled softly, his eyes full of kindness. Immediately afterwards, Shi Jushin followed closely, following in the footsteps of Su Haifeng and He Jinzi. Damn it, Mr. Su, when did you get a cousin? Wang Fugui said in surprise. I don't know, it's the first time we meet today, Su Yang said, touching the bridge of his nose. Your cousin is capable, he can get along well, and he will really help when something happens, Wang Fugui said seriously. Yeah, indeed. Su Yang nodded and did not deny what Wang Fugui said. Having lived in 2 lifetimes, he could feel that Shi Jushin's kindness to him was not a pretense. As for the reason, Su Yang can probably guess it. When Shi Jushin mentioned his mother just now, his eyes were filled with respect. If you think about it carefully, 20 years ago, Shi Jushin was about 10 years old and started to remember things. As for my mother, she is extremely talented and beautiful, and is the most talented person in Mount Tai. I guess this Shi Jushin is my mother's #1 fan. Therefore, he shows great kindness to himself. Master, that person insulted your mother. His crime is unforgivable. They must not leave with Shi Jushin's valuable treasure. I will kill them both. At this time, Ali coldly sent a message. Su Yang shook his head and smiled softly, no need, they won't survive. Huh? There are no other masters in this service area. Who can kill 2 Shenzongs? Ali asked curiously. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 444. Shi Jushin, Su Yang replied. Ali shook his head and said, it's impossible. He only has half a step of Shen section, he can't compete with even 1 Shen section, how could he kill those 2 people? Besides, looking at how groveling he is, he has already discussed with the 2 divine sects to exchange a heavy treasure for your life, so what? Ali was transmitting a message to express his doubts to Su Yang, but at this moment, a dazzling white light suddenly lit up in the east, followed by a terrifying aura. But in just an instant, the white light disappeared, and so did the mighty power. This process was very short, less than a second, the light dissipated, and it was as if nothing had happened. But at the foot of the east wall, 2 corpses appeared, and a layer of blood seeped out of the ground. The corpses are none other than Su Haifeng and He Jinzi. I didn't expect that Shi Jushin was so hidden. Ali paused, then couldn't help but say something. Su Yang smiled, and then said it clearly, he probably doesn't have the strength himself. He may use some means to surpass the level and kill the Shenzong. Therefore, only 1 strike can kill 2 Shenzong early stage ones instantly. So that's it, Ali suddenly realized, and then asked doubtfully, Master, did you find out early on that he was going to kill him? Su Yang smiled softly and said, others may not be able to detect the killing intent in his eyes, but they can't be hidden from me. Besides, he respects my mother very much and will not allow others to disrespect her. The reason why Su Haifeng and He Jinzi decided to kill them with 1 strike was to prevent Su Haifeng and He Jinzi from escaping, Su Yang added. This man is so scary. He hides a knife in his smile, Ali reminded, Master, you have to be careful about him. No need. Su Yang shook his head and said, he really regards me as his relative. Just like Mr. Wang said, this cousin can be dealt with and he will really help me when something happens. Fuck, dead. At this moment, Wang Fugui next to him reacted and said in surprise, young Master Su, your cousin can do it? He killed 2 Shenzongs in the blink of an eye. He is so strong. However, he is too stingy. He wants to go to the east wall to kill him. He is a stingy man, afraid that we will secretly learn his martial arts. He is not generous at all, Wang Fugui muttered. While the three of them were talking, Shi Jushin's figure flickered and turned back. Cousin Su Yang. Shi Jushin seemed to have a misophobia. While wiping the blood on his hands with a white hand towel, he said with a smile, "My cousin helped you solve those two troubles. I didn't scare you." Haha, no. Su Yang shook his head and smiled, "I have seen this kind of scene too many times." Right. Shi Jushin's eyes fell on Su Yang and he said with a smile, "I probably know something about what you have done recently. In the battlefield in southern Xinjiang, you led your Su family's secret guards to massacre hundreds of thousands of enemy troops, killing 2 people. It's just an individual, and for you, it's just a small scene." With that said, Shi Jushin put away his handkerchief and then introduced himself, "Cousin, let me introduce myself again. My name is Shi Jushin. I am the son of your second uncle Shi Yunhai. Your mother Shi Yuyan is my biological aunt. Although my father is known as the second child in the family, I am the oldest among the younger generation. You can just call me cousin," Shi Jushin said with a smile. "Big cousin." Since the other party was full of goodwill, Su Yang naturally greeted him with a smile, and then asked knowingly, "Cousin, the land of Fengchan has never welcomed me, why did you help me?" "Haha, Aunt Yuyan is my idol. When I was a child, she was very good to me. She often took me sneaking down the mountain. We hunted pheasants and roasted sweet potatoes. He also taught me martial arts. They say aunt and aunt. Aunt Yuyan is half my mother. You are her son. I will definitely treat you as a blood relative." Shi Jushin smiled and said, "Besides, before going down the mountain this time, I met my aunt and promised her to take good care of you. So, cousin, don't worry about your trip to Wudang Mountain. My cousin will keep you worry-free," Shi Jushin promised seriously. "Thank you in advance, cousin." Su Yang said politely, and then asked emotionally, "Cousin, have you seen my mother? How is she now?" "My aunt is safe. She is currently on the cliff. Grandpa asked her to think about her mistakes. If she does not realize her mistake, she will not be able to step out of the cliff for the rest of her life." Facing Su Yang, Shi Jushin said truthfully without any thoughts. "What?" Su Yang heard this and said coldly, "My mother was indeed imprisoned by Shi Hehan, she deserves to die." "Cousin, don't talk nonsense." Shi Jushin explained, "Grandpa has no ill intentions. He has always been a sharp-tongued man, so you have to respect him." Snort. Su Yang snorted coldly and didn't say much. Seeing this, Shi Jushin sighed and stopped trying to persuade him. He knew that Su Yang hated his grandfather. If it were him, he would also hate his grandfather. After all, 5 years ago, his grandfather took his aunt away and broke up his cousin's family. "Cousin, you don't have to be angry." After a moment of silence, Shi Jushin said seriously, "The main purpose of my participation in the 100 sex martial arts competition this time is to rescue my aunt and reunite your family." "What does your participation in the 100 sex martial arts competition have to do with rescuing my mother?" Su Yang asked doubtfully. "Cousin, you don't know something." Shi Jushin explained, "Grandpa promised me that as long as I win the first place in the 100 sex martial arts competition, he will agree to a request of mine. As long as he can do it, any request will be fine. I have already thought about it. When I win the championship, I will immediately propose to my grandfather that I let my aunt leave Siguo Cliff and accept your Jiangbei Su family," Shi Jushin said seriously. "Haha, thank you cousin. I look forward to your performance in the 100 sex martial arts competition." Su Yang said with a smile, feeling a little moved in his heart. "You're welcome, cousin. There's no need to say thank you to my eldest cousin." Shi Jushin continued, "By the way, cousin, you will also participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition. I heard that you killed several peak masters in Kyoto, so you must be at this level. At the peak of the Grandmaster level, he is relatively strong. He should be able to advance into the top 30, but if he encounters a real genius from a famous mountain, he may not be a match for him. Shijushin said righteously, but, cousin, you can rest assured that my eldest cousin has some friendship with those geniuses and will say hello in advance and ask them to be merciful and try not to hurt you. Okay, cousin Su Yang couldn't help laughing, but didn't say anything else. Actually, with Su Yang's current strength and holding the sky sword, he can obliterate the early stage of Shenzong. If all the trump cards are used, and the key to the East Mansion and the Void Tower are used, you can fight even if you encounter the Shenzong in the middle stage. As for the eldest cousin Shijushin, he was only half a step into the divine sect, but he was talking big words in front of Su Yang, which was really funny. But the eldest cousin also has good intentions, so Su Yang will naturally not embarrass him. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 445. Shijushin nodded lightly, turned to look at the two corpses at the foot of the east wall, and said solemnly, "These two people are disrespectful to my aunt. It is not a pity to die." Indeed, Su Yang nodded. He also had murderous intentions. If Shijushin didn't take action, he would kill himself. Cousin. At this time, Shijushin asked with a smile, "Aren't you curious, how can I kill two early stage Shenseks when I am only a half-step Shensect? My eldest cousin comes from the land of Zen, so he must have many tricks." "What's wrong with that?" Su Yang said with a smile. "Haha, my cousin is smart." Shijushin held his head high and said arrogantly, "Yes, I am traveling alone when I go down the mountain this time. Grandpa was worried, so he gave me a life-saving amulet. That talisman is an ancient talisman. Once sacrificed, it can kill the late Shen sect. These two people are only in the early stages of the Shen section. If they are used to kill them, they are overqualified." Shijushin then said seriously, "But I don't regret it. They insulted Aunt Yuyan and must die. If you give me another chance, I will still sacrifice the ancient talisman to destroy both body and spirit of these two people. My eldest cousin is mighty." Su Yang showed a sincere smile, and for the first time he felt that flattering others could be so comfortable. "This is what I should do." Shijushin smiled, and then said, "Cousin, it's getting late. It's still 3 or 4 hours drive from Wudain Mountain. Are you going on the road with me, or?" "Cousin, I won't bother you. My friend and I will go together," Su Yang added. "We'll see you on Wudain Mountain." "Good." Shijushin took out his mobile phone, opened the WeChat QR code, and said proactively, "Cousin, add a WeChat account and contact me in time if you encounter any trouble." In the ancient martial arts world, cousins are good at talking. "Okay." Su Yang took out his mobile phone from the storage ring, scanned the QR code and added Shijushin's WeChat account. "Cousin, farewell." "Farewell." After saying goodbye to Su Yang, Shijushin remotely unlocked the door lock of a Land Rover in the distance and drove out of the service area alone. "Cousin, it's interesting." Watching Shijushin disappear in his car, Su Yang smiled and had a good impression of his eldest cousin. "Damn it, Mr. Su, your relative is really interesting. With him protecting us, we can run rampant in Wudain Mountain," Wang Fugui said happily, obviously knowing what the place of Zen represents. Su Yang nodded, and then said, "Ali, use the sky-swallowing spirit beast art to clean up those two corpses before anyone notices, and then we should set off." "Yes, master." Ari had long been interested in the two corpses from the early stage of the Shen section. At this moment, with a thought, the two corpses turned into blood and quickly flew into Ari's body. Due to the high speed, no one was there to see it. When Wang Fugui saw it, he couldn't help but shuddered and became even more afraid of Ali. Ali, the blood essence and blood from the early stage of Shen sect should be the strongest blood essence you have swallowed, right? Su Yang asked casually. No. Ari shook his head, and then said, some time ago in Country D, the corpse that the master threw in had the strongest blood essence. You mean Duan Mulu? Yeah, Ari nodded. Regarding Duan Mulu, Su Yang only knew that the other party was Shenzone, but did not know his specific realm, so he asked, Ali, have you noticed the realm of Duan Mulu? It seems to be the peak of Shenzone, but I'm not sure. Some of his blood essence contains energy that is beyond the scope of Shenzone. Ari continued, I guess he should have touched a higher threshold, but he didn't even step forward. Is there a realm above the Shenzone of the ancient martial arts system? Su Yang frowned slightly and turned to ask, Ali, do you think you can deal with an ancient warrior at that level? Okay, Ari replied confidently. That's good. Su Yang nodded, with a smile on his lips and said, let's go to Wuodang. I have contacted Schwetter. She and Yuya will arrive around 8 o'clock in the evening. We will try to get to Wuodang ancient town before 8 o'clock and find a place. Settlement. Next. Wang Fugui drove out of the service area and headed straight to Wuodang mountain along the Jianghai Expressway. The mist gradually solidified, and it turned out to be a person. Report to Master Xiaoshan. This corresponds to the high-end clubs in modern cities, which are actually ancient brothels. After Guiying accepted the order, his body instantly turned into a black mist and disappeared. The reception ladies inside are all dressed in ancient costumes, and they are standing outside to attract customers. Amodeo said coldly, and then opened the window next to him, overlooking the bustling Wuodang ancient town, and the smile on his lips became stronger and stronger. At this moment, within the ancient town, there are hotels, large shopping malls, and various entertainment venues. Haha, no one can stop me from becoming the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance. Guiying knelt down on one knee, clasped his fists and said respectfully, Shi Jushin drove away from Mount Tai alone, without any expert protection around him. Counting the time, he will arrive at Wuodang ancient town around 7 o'clock in the evening. Hearing this, Amodeo suddenly sneered, haha, Shi Jushin, you can't blame me. This Shi Jushin is said to have accepted the inheritance of the Zen land. His strength is unfathomable now. I am not sure of winning against him. However, recently, the ancient town has been closed to tourists. The reason is for decoration and renovation, but in fact it is to receive disciples from various sects who come to compete. This town has a long history and has probably existed for hundreds of years. Due to its retro architectural style, it is a well-known tourist attraction. At the foot of Wuodang Mountain, a characteristic ancient town. He is the #1 genius in the depths of the clouds, Mr. Amodeo. A young man in a dark robe stood by the window with gloomy eyes. There are countless geniuses from all the major sects in the ancient martial arts world, but there are no more than 5 people who can influence me. Amodeo looked indifferent and analyzed, let's not mention the others for now, but Shi Jushin is the biggest hidden danger. Chunguang Tower, 4th floor. Amodeo narrowed his eyes slightly and said, in this way, no one on the 7th track will be my opponent. At this time, Amodeo said seriously, this morning, the track division has been completed. Taishan's Shi Jushin and I have been assigned to the same track. Yes. Having said this, Amodeo asked, ghosting, I asked you to check Shi Jushin's whereabouts. How did the investigation go? Traveling alone. Ghosting, go 30 miles away from the ancient town and attack Shi Jushin. Kill him if you can. If you can't kill him, try to seriously injure him. This year's 100 Sects martial arts competition format is the same as in previous years. The names of all the contestants are shuffled and then randomly divided into 12 tracks, with 48 people in each track. Of course, air conditioning and various necessary electrical appliances are still available. Only the first place in each track can be promoted and successfully enter the next level. Otherwise, they will be eliminated. The most distinctive feature of Wuodang ancient town is probably the Chunguang Tower in the bustling area. Going deep into the Chunguang Tower, you can see beauties in ancient costumes, with their thighs exposed, performing classical dances, and various men and women cuddling. It is worth mentioning that both the hotel and the entertainment venue are all antique, and it is difficult to see modern equipment in the decoration inside. He is Guiying, a strong man deep in the clouds and mist, an ancient warrior in the middle stage of Shenzong. As soon as he said these words, a black mist emerged from behind Mo Deo. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 446. Wuodang is very lively today. Young talents from various major sects arrived in the ancient town one after another under the escort of the sect elders. At this time, Wuodang Mountain. Inside the quaint room, an old man wearing a navy blue straight-collared robe sat cross-legged with a whisk in his hand between his arms. The old Taoist priest's eyes were slightly closed, and there was no trace of joy or sorrow on his old face. He is the current head of Wuodang Ji sect, Wan Konggyun, who is in charge of the entire Wuodang. But above him, there was an old sect leader who was 2 generations higher than Wan Konggyun and was his great-uncle. When many sects besieged the Su family in Kunlun, it was the old sect leader who used some tricks to secretly help save Su Yang's grandfather Sukinkan. And he was also the one who told Jufeng Mountain about the Millennium Killing, and that the Su family would rise again in the future, and could even resolve the disaster in Jufeng Mountain. Therefore, Qian Shangxiu hid his identity, came to Jiangbei, and used his body to form a good relationship with the Su family. This was how Su Yuyu and Su Xing came to be. Master, tomorrow is the 100 Sects martial arts competition. The young talents and masters from all the major sects have almost arrived. Why haven't the old sect masters shown up yet? At this time, a young Taoist priest next to him asked curiously. Road. Wang yet? Wan Konggyun opened his eyes, and then his gaze fell on the flat Taoist priest. He said as steadily as Taishan, "Don't be impatient. Uncle Master has his own sense of proportion. When it is time for him to appear, he will naturally appear. According to the prophecy of our ancestors, after hundreds of sects compete in martial arts, the world will experience a revolution. No one knows what will happen, but it will definitely be a earth-shaking change." Wan Konggyun looked at Wang Ye and continued, "You are the most outstanding genius in our Wuodang Mountains for hundreds of years. You have become proficient in Qi section in this 100 sects competition. I hope that you can show off your skills and win the first place one. Are you sure?" "Of course there is certainty." Wang Ye's expression was the same as Wan Konggyun's, neither happy nor sad. He seemed to have seen through the mortal world and was able to overcome the 7 emotions. He said in a calm tone, "However, Master, we in Wuodang Mountain have always been independent of the world and have never participated in the 100 sects meeting. Wu, why did you let your disciples take action this time? There is news that I didn't tell you before. Under the leadership of the 3 major forces, the major ancient martial arts sects have reached an agreement." Wan Konggyun explained, "The person who ranks first in the 100 sects martial arts competition this year is the person chosen by heaven. The ancient martial arts world conforms to the laws of heaven. I am willing to accept this person as the leader and take charge of the ancient martial arts world." Wang Ye heard this and said in surprise, "Master, you want me to be the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance?" "Not bad." Wan Konggyun nodded. "Why, we in Wuodang cultivate our minds and nature and never compete for power. Why do you want me to take charge of the ancient martial arts world?" Wang Ye asked in confusion. Why? Wang Kongyun sighed, and then said, no one knows the future pattern of the ancient martial arts world and the direction it will take from now on. The major ancient martial arts sects all focus on fame and fortune. Some are ambitious, some are ruthless, some are selfish, and some are murderous. Wang Kongyun continued, those people, no matter how talented they are not suitable to be the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance, otherwise they will only make the ancient martial arts world irreversible. Just in case, I will let you be the first one as a master to prevent the ancient martial arts world from falling into the hands of those people. Wang Kongyun looked at Wang Ye and said seriously, Wang Ye, you have been a kind-hearted child since childhood. You don't fight or grab, and you behave calmly. It is also because of this that you are able to understand the art of Kimen at the age of 25. Wang Kongyun solemnly said, but this time, my master asks you to fight and rob, not for yourself, but for the future of the ancient martial arts world. Are you willing? Disciple is willing. Wang Ye's eyes flashed, and he responded respectfully, Master, don't worry, I have reserved the first place in the 100 sex martial arts competition. Ha ha ha, okay. With his unique skills, he is a young talent who is confident that he is invincible in the world. However, even if he hadn't deduced the secret, he wouldn't be alive now. Next. There is an open space here, which is a large parking lot. Wang Kongyun first scolded him angrily, then asked with concern, how is your injury? The same is true now. People from various major sects also park their cars here under Wu Dang's arrangement. Well, that's good. Wang Kongyun nodded. Wang Ye nodded, and then said, some time ago, I used Kimen's skills to try to deduce the secrets of heaven and forcibly predict the direction of the ancient martial arts world. As a result, I was backlashed by the law of heaven and spit out a mouthful of blood. Wang Ye then exited Wang Kongyun's room and returned to his own room to meditate. It's just, Master, regarding the innovation in the ancient martial arts world, did the old sect master leave a few words? What changes will happen, at the end? Wang Ye asked doubtfully. Normally, tourists will park their cars here, then take a tourist minibus and enter Wudang ancient town. With the mystery of Kimen's art, even if you encounter the late Shen sect, you will still be able to fight. Wudang ancient town is brightly lit, with various lanterns hung, and the night market is crowded with people, just like a temple fair in a costume film and television drama, showing the spirit of participating in the grand event. Unconsciously, the sun set and the sky became dark. The dark nights in autumn come much earlier than in summer. Before 7 o'clock, the sky is a little dark. Wang Kongyun stroked his beard and nodded with satisfaction, you have entered the early stage of Shenzong and are one step away from the middle stage. The lifespan of ancient warriors is limited. Even if they live again, they will not exceed 500 years old. I am not interested in these false names. I only want to travel among the mountains and rivers and indulge in the mountains and rivers for 90,000 miles. Wang Ye continued, the ancestors spied on the future, so they were wiped out by heaven, but I didn't even deduce a part of it, so the injury was not serious. Wang Ye said calmly, but since the ancient martial arts world needs me, I will not back down. Wang Kongyun said confidently, no one among the young talents in the ancient martial arts world can compare with you. If you take action, you will definitely be the champion and become the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance respected by thousands of people. It's okay, it's back to normal. He was not worried at all about tomorrow's 100 sex martial arts competition, and he didn't even take it to heart. Disciple, you are confused. Have you forgotten the lessons learned by our ancestors? The ancestor they are talking about is the big figure who deduced the revolution of the ancient martial arts association after the 100 sex martial arts association hundreds of years ago. He is several generations older than the old sect leader who has not yet appeared. Wang Kongyun raised his head and looked out the window and murmured, the secret must not be leaked, otherwise there will be great disaster. Wudang ancient town is 30 miles away. The ancient warrior has true energy in his body, and he can travel faster on foot than in a car, so there is no need for a minibus. I asked my uncle about this matter, but he only said one sentence in reply. It's a pity that the ancestor has died under the will of heaven. At this time. Only. That's it? Time flies. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 447. At this moment, Taishan Shijushin drove to the parking lot and parked the car in the parking space. Subsequently, he got out of the car and planned to take off into the air, following the road signs and heading straight to Wudang ancient town. But at this time, Shijushin suddenly noticed that there was a powerful aura that locked onto him and gave him a sense of crisis. Shijushin frowned and stopped. After looking around, his frown deepened and he murmured, "It's strange, why is there no one? Is it my imagination?" Thinking of this, Shijushin patted the dust on his white sportswear and planned to leave. Whoosh! But at this moment, a group of black mist suddenly came towards him quickly. The black mist moved very fast, and during the movement, the black mist gradually turned into a man in black. This man held a dagger in his hand, glowing with a cold light, and stabbed Shijushin's chest with a swift and violent gesture. He is the master sent by Mo Deo, Guiying. After receiving the order, Guiying had been waiting here for a long time. Finally seeing Shijushin, he naturally did not hesitate and made his killing move. Snort. Shijushin reacted, his eyes instantly sharp, he snorted coldly, and dodged the dagger. Subsequently, his right hand was like a knife, and in an instant, true energy surged in his palm, slashing hard at the ghost figure. The ghost did not evade, but blocked it with his elbow. Boom! The next moment, the true energy collided, and a terrifying battle aftermath rippled around. "Who are you? Why did you kill me? Who sent you here?" Shijushin asked repeatedly. The ghost didn't say a word, and swung the dagger in his hand again, aiming straight for Shijushin's throat. Shijushin retreated violently. Although he saved his life, there was a slight scratch on his throat, which was harmless. "It's a killing move. Who sent you here?" Shijushin took out a white handkerchief, wiped the blood on his neck, and said with an extremely solemn expression, "This is Wudang Mountain, and hundreds of sects are about to meet in martial arts. If you fight me openly here, aren't you afraid that your sect will be doomed?" He could tell that the man in black in front of him was at a much higher level than himself and should be in the middle stage of the Shen sect. A master of this level was not something he could handle right now, so he opened his mouth to delay. "Haha, kill you quickly and no one will know." The ghost replied in a hoarse voice, then clenched the dagger and rushed towards Shijushin again. Snort. "You're just an ordinary mid-level Shen sect person. I'm the genius of Mount Tai. Do you really think I can't do anything to you?" Shijushin was furious and said in a deep voice, "If you want to kill me today, it won't be that easy." After the words fell, Shijushin didn't dare to be careless and jumped forward to meet him. Boom! 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 Next, the two of them continued to fight, and the anger raged on the scene, and the surrounding cars were lifted and scrapped. Shijushin was only half-step Shenzone, but he took action with all his strength. For a moment, he was really evenly matched with Guiying, and it seemed that they were evenly matched. Only, Shijushin knew in his heart that he had used all his means to barely block the man in black. In this state, his true energy cannot last long and will be exhausted soon. By then, Shijushin would be weak and fall to the ground, and he would definitely die. "I come from the land of Fengchan. If you dare to intercept and kill me, aren't you afraid of being hunted by Mount Tai forever?" The two fought for dozens of rounds, and Shijushin was at a disadvantage, so he threatened. But the ghost didn't seem to hear it. He was full of murderous intent when he took action, wanting to kill Shijushin as soon as possible. If I had known this, I wouldn't have used the ancient talisman given by Grandpa in the service area. Shijushin suddenly regretted it, and couldn't help but said to himself, although those two people are bound to die, it doesn't matter if they are killed early or late. Afterwards, I can randomly send a Taishan master to make their corpses disappear. Why, I want to be cool and use the ancient talisman. That ancient talisman can kill the late Shen section if I hold it in my hand. I can kill the man in black in just an instant. It's a pity. After all, I was too hasty. Shijushin sighed and thought to himself, facts have proved that being cool is not feasible. What should we do now? Is it possible that I, the proud genius of Mount Tai, will perish here before I participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition? In addition to regret, Shijushin felt an unprecedented panic in his heart. He has always lived in the land of Zen and rarely goes down Mount Tai. Even when you go out, there are experts around you to protect you, ensuring nothing goes wrong. This time, he broke through to the half-step divine section in order to prove himself. He deliberately did not go with his grandfather Shihahan and took away all the masters his father had prepared for him. But who knew, he would be assassinated. Ever since he was young, Shijushin has never experienced a life or death crisis. Today is the first time. Boom. After about a few minutes, Shijushin couldn't hold it anymore and dodged the dagger, but failed to dodge the ghost's fist. He was directly smashed away, staining the sky with blood. Puff. After landing, Shijushin spat out a mouthful of blood, his face extremely pale. The full blow of the mid-level master of the Shen zone was extremely terrifying, and naturally it was not something that a person like him who had not yet set foot in the Shen zone could withstand. At this moment, Su Yang and his party arrived, hiding in the dark and watching from a distance. They were on the same road as Shijushin. As soon as Shijushin stepped forward, Su Yang and his party set off, so they bumped into the scene. When Shijushin and Guiying first fought, Su Yang and the other three were relatively far away. But the noise caused by the fight between the two of them was noticed by Su Yang. Then, Su Yang, Ali, and Wang Fuegui abandoned their cars and approached. "Young Master Su, isn't that person your eldest cousin?" Wang Fuegui whispered in the darkness. Su Yang nodded and said, "Well, it's him. Genkai, he was pretending to be cool in front of us before, saying that it would be useful to mention him, but now he is being abused." Wang Fuegui curled his lips and said. When Su Yang heard this, he smiled and said, "His opponent is from the middle stage of Shen zone." Shen, the middle stage of Shen section. When Wang Fuegui heard this, he was slightly startled, and then said, "Damn it, my eldest cousin is still awesome." He actually resisted for so long when he met the Shen zone middle school. He is worthy of being my eldest cousin. "Master, do you want to help him?" At this time, Ari's girly voice sounded. "Don't worry, I want to see if my cousin has any trump cards." Su Yang smiled softly and said, "As a genius of Mount Tai, it is impossible to go out alone with only one ancient talisman on your body. Keep an eye on him, and don't do anything until he's really gone." Su Yang raised the corners of his mouth slightly and said with a smile, "I haven't encountered anyone in the middle stage of Shen zone. Let me try first to see if I can defeat him. I plan to build a foundation after the 100 sex martial arts competition, and experience more battles, which will help improve myself. This person is just a good whetstone," Su Yang added. Ari nodded respectfully. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 448. Master Shi, don't blame me. If you want to blame me, you can only blame yourself for your bad luck. You are on the same track as my master. At this moment, the ghost sneered again and slowly walked towards Shijushin, confident of winning. "The same track?" Shijushin frowned and gritted his teeth. "Who is your master? You don't need to know this. I didn't expect that one day, I would be able to kill the genius of the Fengchan land. Ha ha ha, it's exciting just thinking about it. The ghost smiled playfully, his eyes filled with murderous intent, and he was about to kill Shijushin with a dagger. Shijushin's pupils shrank rapidly, but he seemed to have no strength to fight back, and slowly moved his body back. Die! The ghost sneered, and the next moment his body shot directly at Shijushin, preparing to slit Shijushin's neck in one fell swoop. Clang! But at this moment, a long sword emitting bright light suddenly appeared, a dagger that shook the ghost shadow. The sound of metal collision suddenly came from the scene, and the ghost's body was shaken back several steps. Who? The ghost was startled, with a trace of fear in his eyes, and he looked around with a guilty conscience. The assassination of Taishan Shijushin is too important and must be foolproof. The news must not be leaked, otherwise it will bring great trouble to the young master of the mountain, so Guiying is so panicked. After the ghost shadow finished speaking, Su Yang walked out of the darkness alone. Ali and Wang Fugui continued to hide in the dark and did not show up. The eldest cousin had previously acted cowardly in front of Su Yang in order not to embarrass the eldest cousin. Therefore, Su Yang did not use his original appearance, but used the disguise technique to slightly change his appearance before coming out. Although the change is not big, most people can still tell that he is Su Yang. The long sword that blocked the ghost shadow before was naturally Su Yang's sky sword. At this moment, the sky sword was suspended in mid-air, with its radiant power, crushing all directions. Who are you? The ghost's eyes instantly fell on Su Yang, and he looked at it carefully while raising his vigilance. Because he didn't notice the slightest fluctuation of Genkai from Su Yang, he just felt that the other party was unfathomable. A kind-hearted person who wishes to remain anonymous. Su Yang answered casually, then strode up to Shijushin, raised his hand slightly, and the sky sword fell into his hand obediently. Holding the Kangsheng sword, Su Yang's aura was fully activated. He stared at the ghost shadow coldly and said with high fighting spirit, "You are an old guy in the middle stage of Shenzong, and you bully a young man who is half-stepped in Shenzong. Aren't you ashamed? None of your business." The ghost met Su Yang's gaze and said threateningly, "Boy, I think you are not old, so you will definitely not be able to set foot in Shenzong. I advise you not to meddle in other people's business and just leave. I can pretend that nothing happened." Ghost Shadow clenched the dagger and said in a deep voice, "Otherwise, don't blame my men for being ruthless." "Haha, I'm sorry, I don't have any other advantages, except for my chivalrous heart." Su Yang narrowed his eyes slightly and said with a playful smile, "So, I will take care of this noisy matter." "You." When the ghost heard this, he said angrily, "Okay, boy, since you don't know whether to live or die, I will help you." As soon as he finished speaking, Guiying wanted to step forward and test Su Yang's depth. Although he was unaware of the state of the person who suddenly appeared, he concluded that the other person would not be very strong. Master Xiaoshan said that it would be best to kill Shijushin, so Guiying didn't want to just run away. He planned to test it first. If the young man holding the sword was not a master, he would kill them both. If the other party can compete with you, then you can escape. Anyway, Shijushin took a punch and was seriously injured. He will definitely not be able to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition tomorrow. His mission is considered completed. Want to be close to me? Seeing this, Su Yang stood on the spot, then held the sky sword and quickly drew out the golden sword energy. Call out! Call out! Call out! In an instant, countless crescent-shaped golden sword energy attacked the ghost shadow and forced it back. What a strong sword energy! This young man is not very strong, but this sword is extraordinary. This sword can enhance combat effectiveness. If I get it, my strength will definitely improve. Guiying saw the extraordinary power of Kang Kyung's sword at a glance, and immediately became interested. Then, He tried his best to compete with Su Yang, but his body instantly turned into a black mist and disappeared. Haha, this kind of hiding method is just a small trick in front of me. Su Yang sneered again and again. He possesses the soul of the immortal emperor and his perception is astonishing. Even if the ghost turns into mist, he can still accurately determine the opponent's position. Call out! Call out! Call out! Immediately afterwards, Su Yang swung the sky sword and the golden sword energy to accurately attack the ghost shadow. Damn it, you can actually see through my secret technique of invisibility. The ghost became angry with shame, but faced with the continuous sword energy, he could not get close to Su Yang. But Ghost Shadow coveted the Kangkyang sword, so he was reluctant to leave, but chose to stay and tangle with Su Yang. I don't believe it anymore, you can keep firing sword energy. Guiying's thoughts were similar to those of Gu Hongyu before, thinking that Su Yang wouldn't last long. Only this time, Su Yang didn't intend to waste too much time. He knew his current fighting power. With the Sky Sword in his hand, he could activate the hidden Sky Stone and then use so far to end the world. By surprise, he could obliterate the early stage of the Shen sect. But the ghost in front of him was in the middle stage of the Shen sect, and he was obviously not something he could contend with. As for the key to the East Mansion and the Void Tower, Su Yang did not want to expose this treasure in front of others unless he had to. Therefore, the choice left to Su Yang is very simple, that is the secret technique of blood sacrifice. Now, there are all kinds of medicinal materials in Su Yang's storage ring. There is no need to worry about the backlash of the blood sacrifice, and the blood sacrifice can be used without any scruples. Today, he wanted to see if he could kill the middle-level Shen Zone by activating the blood sacrifice and using various methods. Blood sacrifice, start. Su Yang didn't hesitate at all, and immediately activated the secret technique of blood sacrifice. The sky was filled with blood all over his body, and his eyes turned scarlet. After Su Yang started the blood sacrifice, the sky sword in his hand was wrapped in blood, and the light it emitted was no longer golden, but a deep red blood color. Refer to King of Glory, secret letter. Tianyan stone, open it. So close to the end of the world. Then, Su Yang shouted twice more, and in an instant, his figure disappeared. The ghost was stunned and looked around fearfully, but could not detect Su Yang's position. We can't fight any longer, this young man is a bit weird. The ghost felt something bad, so he thought about retreating, so he jumped into the air and planned to leave. Want to leave now? Late. The next moment, Su Yang's figure appeared out of thin air, holding a bloody long sword, and slashed out with the sword, dyeing half the sky red with blood. Puff! In an instant, the ghost's head fell to the ground, blood gurgled out, and the body fell down. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 449. The ghost figure in the middle stage of Shenzong died. After dealing with the opponent, Su Yang put away the sky sword, glanced at Shi Jushin, and found that the opponent's life was not in danger, turned around and left. My dear benefactor, please stay. Shi Jushin reacted and spoke hurriedly. Su Yang stopped and raised his eyebrows, is something wrong? I would like to thank my benefactor for saving me today. I would like to ask my benefactor Shi Jushin's name on Mount Tai, so that I can repay my kindness in the future, Shi Jushin said politely. There's no need to repay a favor. For me, it's just a small effort. Su Yang smiled lightly and did not identify himself. First, he was afraid of embarrassing his eldest cousin. As for the second one, since Su Yang chose to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition, he must be aiming for first place. In addition, he has a special status and is a descendant of the Kunlun Su family, so it is better to keep a low profile to avoid unnecessary trouble. Although Ali is here, he is not afraid of anyone in the ancient martial arts world, but this time, he also wants to prove himself in the 100 sex martial arts competition and become famous in the ancient martial arts world. Therefore, unless Old Antique takes action against him, Su Yang does not want Ali to show up. Since my benefactor doesn't want to reveal his name, it's not convenient for me to ask any more questions. Shi Jushin paused, then couldn't help but ask a topic he was very concerned about. My dear friend, why did you come to Wuodame? Is it for the 100 sex martial arts competition? Are you a contestant? Ho ho, no. Su Yang shook his head and said, I'm not very interested in the 100 sex martial arts competition. Besides, at my age, I can't participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition. Hearing these words, Shi Jushin breathed a sigh of relief, and his expression became much more relaxed. He witnessed his benefactor's strength with his own eyes. He killed the middle-level Shenzone with one sword. His strength was unfathomable, and the energy he possessed was not true energy. It was extremely strange. If his benefactor participated in the 100 sex martial arts competition, Shi Jushin knew very well that it would be difficult for him to become the first. Therefore, now that he knew that his benefactor was not attending, he was relieved. It turns out that my benefactor is a senior-level figure. Judging from your appearance, this junior thought you were a young talent. Shi Jushin showed a smile and said kindly, Senior has good looks, is brave, and has great strength, which is admirable. Haha, you did a good job of flattering me. Su Yang smiled, and then said, Master Shi, I see that your injury is serious. The 100 sex martial arts competition will begin tomorrow. Can you still participate? Thank you for your concern, Senior, but this little injury is nothing. Shi Jushin smiled softly and said, This junior comes from the place of Zen, and he has the holy medicine for healing. If you take care of yourself tonight, you will be back to your peak tomorrow. That's good, Master Shi. I'm looking forward to your performance. I'll take the first step. Su Yang clasped his fists, then used Ju Chi Tianya, and his figure quickly disappeared into the night. I have declared my family name. I come from the land of Feng Chan, which is one of the top powers in the ancient martial arts world. Watching Su Yang go away, Shi Jushin couldn't help but talk to himself and admired, but the senior didn't even tell me his last name. It seems that he really doesn't want to repay me. Saving me is just a casual thing for him. Good thing. I have seen masters who are stronger than him. There are no fewer than 10 in the Fengchan land. They can easily kill the middle-level Shen section. But I have respect for those people, but not very much. But I really admire my benefactor very much. Strength is secondary, the main thing is his moral character. He does good deeds without asking for anything in return. Shi Jushin looked at the direction where his benefactor disappeared for a long time, and then looked away. Immediately afterwards, he looked at the headless corpse on the ground, his expression darkened, and he said coldly, This person said before that he intercepted and killed me because his master and I were assigned to the same track. And I have received the news that I am on the 9th circuit. From this, it can be seen that the person who wants me dead is a contestant on the 9th circuit. Shi Jushin then analyzed, moreover, that person should be very strong. I feel that as long as I kill him, he can become the number 1 on the 9th track and advance to the next duel. The 9th circuit? Haha, this is very simple. I just need to make a phone call and I can easily lock the target. With this in his mind, Shi Jushin immediately took out his mobile phone, dialed a number, and said calmly, Uncle Third Master, are you in Wuodane Mountain at the moment? Help me check who the masters of the 9th circuit are. I was assassinated just now. Yes, it has something to do with the 100 sex martial arts competition, and some people don't want me to play. The call took 3 to 5 minutes. Subsequently, Shijushin hung up the phone, his expression was very angry, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Zyman family, Zyman tiger roar, haha, very good." Just now, he had received news from third master uncle that there were many masters on the ninth track. But the one who can really threaten him is the second son of the Zyman family, Zyman Hyuxiao. This year, the Zyman family sent a total of 2 people to compete, and one of them was named Zyman Hyuxiao. This Zyman Hyuxiao has unfathomable strength and few people have seen him take action. He is one of the popular candidates to advance to the ninth track. And Shijushin is also a popular candidate. Someone has already opened the market, and the two of them can be regarded as a 50-50 split. Now that Shijushin was intercepted, he would naturally suspect Zyman Hyuxiao. Shijushin didn't have a good impression of the Zyman family to begin with. Now that he guessed that Zyman Hyuxiao sent someone to assassinate him, he hated the Zyman family even more. The tiger roars at the west gate. Tomorrow there will be a martial arts competition among hundreds of sections. I will take your life and let you know the consequences of offending the land of Fengchan. Shijushin said in a deep voice, then wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and left the scene. It was getting late, so he had to rush to Wudang ancient town as soon as possible and swallow the healing medicine, so as not to delay tomorrow's game. Not long after Shijushin left, a young man wearing a dark robe suddenly appeared. This person is none other than the master of Shaoshan Mountain deep in the clouds and mist, Mr. Mo. At this time, when Mo saw Guiying's body, his face was gloomy and scary, and he was more regretful. Damn it! Wrong! Such a big thing has gone wrong. Mo gritted his teeth and said angrily, Shijushin of the 7th track is not Taishan Shijushin at all. That person just has the same name as Shijushin. He comes from a small mountain. He is not even a famous mountain. He is extremely weak. He has just stepped into the realm of Tianzong. I can kill him with one finger. He is of no use to me. Not the slightest threat. Mo said bitterly, what a pity, I lost a loyal subordinate because of this. However, Guiying, this can be regarded as you paying for your fault. If you investigated clearly, what happened today would not have happened. Forget it, I will give you one last ride. Mo looked at Guiying's body, raised his hand slightly, and a stream of ink-colored gas surged out, instantly surrounding Guiying. Almost in an instant, it completely eroded Guiying's body, leaving no bones left. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 450. Chapter 2. After sending away the ghost, Mo looked gloomy and felt that this time it was too much of a loss. I didn't expect that Shijushin was so strong that he could kill the middle-level Shenzong. If I want to win first place, I still have to kill him. Mo murmured to himself, but turned around and denied, no, looking at Guiying's injuries, he should have been decapitated by a sharp blade, and Shijushin does not use weapons, his unique skill is Taishan horizontal training, and his body is indestructible. So, is there someone else who killed the ghost? That's right. How can Shihan, who is the most talented person in Mount Tai, be willing to let him travel alone? There must be someone around him to protect him. Thinking of this, Mo breathed a sigh of relief and smiled, since Shijushin is not on the 7th track, no one can stop me on the 7th track. In the afternoon, I have already investigated clearly. I have found out almost all of the dozens of contestants on the 7th track. Only 2 of them are from famous mountains and are at the peak of Tianzong. I am not afraid, even if the 2 of them join forces, still no match for me. However, there is one person among them, his name is Lin Yuan, but there is no trace of him. I don't know what realm he is. Mo smiled and said, but the force he belongs to is just a small family on the border. Even the qualification to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition was only obtained this year, so it must not be something to be afraid of. In this way, I will definitely be able to advance smoothly and compete with the other 11 track leaders for the first place in the 100 sex martial arts competition. With this thought in his mind, Amodeo showed a satisfied smile and then disappeared. The other side. After Su Yang rescued Shijushin, he met up with Ali and Wang Fuegui and was already approaching the ancient town. At this moment, Su Yang and the others looked up and saw the bustling ancient town, brightly lit and very lively. So, the three of them slowed down and walked leisurely towards the ancient town. I have long heard that the night view of Wuodang ancient town is beautiful, but I have never come to see it. I didn't expect that the first time I came here was to participate in a competition. Wang Fuegui looked ahead and couldn't help laughing. This is so damn beautiful, just like the ancient streets in the movie. The three of them walked for a few more minutes and arrived at the entrance of the ancient town. This place is guarded by Taoist masters from Wuodang, and only ancient warriors are allowed to enter. Su Yang used spiritual energy to transform into true energy, which showed the strength of the Tianzong realm. The Taoist priest did not stop them and let Su Yang and the others enter the ancient town. Fuck. At this moment, Wang Fuegui looked at the building on the left, as if he had discovered a new world, and said in surprise, "Chunguang building, the welcoming lady in ancient costume has a coquettish temperament, isn't this a high-end club? Young Master Su, would you like to go in and play around? The scenery inside is antique and it will definitely be cool," Wang Fuegui said with a playful smile. "Why don't you go?" Su Yang smiled softly. "I have already quit." Wang Fuegui heard this and said seriously, "Going to the club is not a glorious thing after all. It seems to be idle, and addicted to women. I, Wang Fuegui, am a person who wants to do great things. My dream is the stars and the sea, the mountains and the 5 mountains, and the stars in billions of miles, rather than looking for flowers and willows," Wang Fuegui said seriously. "Come on you." When Su Yang heard this, he said, "Are you afraid of being beaten by Lu Shushan? I remember the last time you went to the club, Lu Shushan caught you and made you kneel on durians. Are your knees swollen? Depend on." Wang Fuegui said with a dark face, "Young Master Su, if you see through it but don't tell it, we are still good friends." "Ha ha." Su Yang smiled and said, "Young Master Wang, you can't do this. Men can't be afraid of their wives. You have to revitalize your husband and show off your virility as a man." "Day. Young Master Su, you are laughing at me." Wang Fuegui's face turned red. He glanced at Ali next to him and said, "Stop laughing at me, young Master Su. Sister-in-law Ali is here. Do you dare to enter Chunguang Tower? Master, you can go if you want. Ari will guard the door for you and don't let others disturb you." Hearing this, Ali smiled charmingly and said, "If you are willing, Ali can serve you together with the women in the club." Before Su Yang opened his mouth, Ali had already made his attitude clear. "What the hell? Can this still happen?" Young Master Wang was stunned and couldn't help but whisper, "Sister-in-law, you are a master of foundation building. You are just a fool. Even if you don't deal with young Master Su, you can't let him enter the club to find another woman. Su Yang is my master, and my mistress doesn't care. Why should I care about him? What qualifications do I have?" Ari smiled softly and said, "Besides, as long as the master is happy, it's fine. Ari's duty is to like the master a little more every day and make the master happy." Wang Fuegui looked confused and wanted to ask Su Yang, where did he find such an obedient maid? "Ha ha." At this moment, Su Yang patted Wang Fuegui on the shoulder and said with a slight smile, "Young Master Wang, you have to learn more from me in this regard. There is a long way to go to revive Fu Gang." When Su Yuyo saw Su Yang, she was instantly happy and wanted to run into Su Yang's arms, but was held back by Jian Shangxiu. The little loli is naturally Su Yuyo." As he spoke, Su Yang persuaded earnestly, Young Master Wang, tell me why you have to go to the club of the ancient martial arts world. Aren't you just a costume technician? It's just a gimmick. You've been driving all day, aren't you tired? To her right, there is a little Lolita who is 4 or 5 years old, also wearing a white skirt, with a sculpted face that makes people want to kiss her. Qian Shangxiu, leader of the Nine Sect Alliance, is here. Ah, this. Young Master Su. Su Yang stopped immediately, turned around and looked stunned, then a smile appeared on his face. Damn it, young Master Su, I'm going to risk everything today and sacrifice my life to accompany this gentleman. Su Yang suddenly showed a wry smile, but then he had an idea. He pointed at Wang Fugui and said with an expression of hatred, Shuer, there's a misunderstanding. At this moment, Wang Fugui couldn't bear it anymore, gritted his teeth, and finally decided to accompany Su Yang for a walk. Haha, that's pretty much it? Su Yang patted Wang Fugui on the shoulder with satisfaction, and then took Wang Fugui and Ali into the Chunguang Tower together. What's our slogan? When Wang Fugui heard this, he immediately hesitated. After saying that, Su Yang raised his head, glanced at Chunguang Tower, and said with a playful smile, now that we are at the door, why not go in? What the hell? Su Yang encouraged, I won't fail until the club collapses. If the club collapses, find another one. What's wrong with you now? Don't forget your original intention. Qian Shangxiu comforted Su Yu, then a pair of beautiful eyes fell on Su Yang, and said coldly, Su Yang, what were you going to do just now? I didn't have enough fun in the city, so when I came to Wudang ancient town, I immediately going to a brothel. Su Yang. The woman calling his name was Qian Shangxiu. Dad. Come on, Mr. Wang, I'm treating you today. Let's go in and have some fun. Lu Shushan is in Kyoto anyway and won't know about it. Su Yang smiled. It's young Master Wang. This guy is stubborn and insists on dragging me to see the world. If I don't go, he will sever my ties with me. I really have no choice. Young Master Wang, you are really at your wits' end. Have you lost all your courage? Have you forgotten our previous slogan? What about reviving Hugang? To be honest, he wanted to go in and have a look, but he was just afraid of getting beaten. Yu, please wait a moment. Didn't you promise not to forget your original intention? But at this time, a woman's voice suddenly came from the distance, her tone was full of expectation and seemed a little angry. Qian Shangxiu was dressed in white, tall, with a white gauze covering her face. She exuded an icy aura and had an extraordinary temperament.